Friday. Welcome to Scott Fox After 9. Today is an all-listener DMs episode. I'm going to go into my inbox, and so you know, I get dozens and dozens and dozens of messages every day about all kinds of different things. And I've got a few of them here that I'm going to read and do them in the pod, covering a whole wide range of topics. I hope you enjoy this episode. I'm going to get to the DMs in just a sec. First off, welcome back, Anna Almeida.
Hey, it's so good to be back.
How are you?
I'm great. I got back from Greece a couple days ago, and it was one of those trips that you can never duplicate. It was amazing, and I'm still running on that high, I think.
Okay, you were there on a girls' trip?
I was. 4 of us girls to celebrate my 40th birthday, which is taking place next week. So I'm so thankful for them. It was spectacular. The food, the drinks, the atmosphere, Greek culture. I really loved it.
Cool. How does it work when 4 girls go away on a trip? Is it 4 separate rooms,
No.
2 rooms, 1 room for 4 people? For 4 girls.
For the first 2, we had the Airbnb the first night. There was a bed upstairs. We all share beds, basically. Upstairs and then downstairs, 2 queens. And then the second time, it was 2 singles and then 2 shared a double. I had my own bed. I don't like cuddling. I like my own space. So I
wouldn't expect you're cuddling with your girlfriends anyway, were you?
No, but we do sometimes. It's like, especially when one of my best friends, Lisa, she loves to snuggle, and we're always like, get away. No. You save that for your husband when you get home. So I always took the single bed, even when the option was available to me that there was a queen, and I still took the single just to make sure.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you had a good time?
We did. It was amazing.
Is Greece something you would recommend, or now that you've seen it, you don't need to go back?
I highly recommend going to Greece. I went to Mykonos and I went to Ios. I wouldn't go back to Mykonos again. I found it very touristy. I'm happy I went. I would always wonder if I hadn't been. It's beautiful, but I wouldn't do that again. I would actually go back to Ios, which is the smaller island. It just felt... I felt not even that it was safer. It's just you really got to interact with the people who own the businesses. It had that small town mentality, and I really enjored it.
Love that. Okay,
Yeah.
Good. Well, hey, welcome back.
Thank you.
I certainly missed you last week, although I'll say Tracy Lynn did a great job at filling in. Her new podcast is coming along nicely, everybody. I'll have an announcement about that for you in the next week or 2. Before we get into the DMs, let's just cover a couple of things. First off, folks here in our neck of the woods in the greater Toronto area are pretty pumped because the Blue Jays American League Divisional Series gets underway tomorrow.
Yeah.
Jays versus Yankees. Jays in 4?
Okay. Let's go with that. I was going to say 3, but I don't want to be ambitious. Let's go with 4. I like that.
Jays in 4.
Yep.
Taylor Swift's new album came out at midnight. It's called The Life of a Showgirl. When I came into our radio studio today, typically Anna's in the studio getting her work prepped, and I sit at my desk and do that, and I could hear the strange noise. So I walked down to the studio, and I thought, we don't play. What is this? Anna actually turned down the radio station to listen to Taylor Swift's new album.
It was so good. I really enjoy it. There's 12 songs. She's so happy, and I am so happy for her. Happiness looks good on her. She sings a lot about finding Travis Kelce, but also it doesn't shy away from her still going after people who did her wrong. And I find she's more forward in her lyrics, and I appreciate it. I think it's a great album. I think it's her best work to date, personally. Some of her old stuff, I felt it was a little melancholy for me. This has a good variety.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up.
It hasn't come down yet, but at some point during the pod, it might. And if it doesn't, I'll definitely have this covered on Monday. The sentencing hearing for Diddy is happening today in New York. I'm going to say it. We got to lock this piece of scum up.
Yeah.
And I know we didn't convict him on everything. I'm going to call that a prosecution failure because they should have. There was more than enough to go on as far as I was concerned. Yeah. But they didn't convict him on everything. But for what they did, the prosecutors want to get him about 11 years. His defense team says he's already served enough in custody and he should be released. So it'll be somewhere between no time and 11 years.
It better be some time. I would love 11 years, if not more. But if he walks today, I'm just disgusted. People have done less and served more time than this guy. So he better stay behind bars and do more time because that's what he deserves.
It was 30 years ago today. O.J. Simpson was acquitted.
I blame that glove, Scott. To this day, I'm like, that was an epic fail, too.
30 years ago today, the world was watching as this happened.
You stand and face the jury. Mrs. Robertson. Superior Court of California, County of Los Angeles, in the matter of the people of the state of California versus Orenthal James Simpson, case number BA097211. We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant Orenthal James Simpson not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187A, a felony upon Nicole Brown Simpson, a human being, as charged in count 1 of the information.
O.J. Simpson acquitted 30 years ago today. On the anniversary, Diddy gets sentenced.
Oh, the
Weird.
timing.
October the 3rd. Strange.
Yeah.
And I don't think they planned it that way. I'm not trying to draw a parallel between O.J. Simpson and Diddy, but if anybody else wants to draw a comparison, you can go right ahead and do it. Just saying.
Terrible people.
All right, what else do we got? 4 weeks till Halloween.
Okay, that's going to be fun. I like that it's on a Friday. I think that's the way it should be. Always on a weekend.
I think so too. I mean,
I just looked at you. I'm like, I think so.
No, I'm one of those people who believes that Halloween, it doesn't need to be tied to a specific day. We always do it on the 31st of October. And I think trick-or-treating on a Tuesday night sucks. I think that it should be on a Friday or Saturday night. In fact, the last Saturday of October would be ideal for Halloween. And that leaves room for parties. It's good for the bars and the Uber drivers. And it's just an all-round better way to do it. This year, Halloween falls on a Friday. I'm good with that too.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good time. I don't know if I'll dress up, but I always have my DIY costume ready to go.
All right, let's get into the listener DMs now that we've covered a few things that are happening this weekend.
All right, so Scott, we're going to start off with Crystal. Hi, Scott. I love the pod. I've been following you for about 5 years now, and it is the highlight of my day, truly. As with so many other listeners, you have brought me into the fold of politics, and I'm so grateful for that. It seems easy the way you explain things. I'm listening to Thursday's podcast about the belugas at Marineland. It reminded me of Keiko, the orca from Free Willy, who was at the Marineland, which I didn't realize, from 1982 to 85. The Free Willy Keiko Foundation spent about $20 million trying to return him to the wild, but he struggled to adapt. Still, as an animal lover, I'm glad he had a few years of freedom. I would love to see a happy ending for the belugas too.
I couldn't agree more. And yesterday, Anna, you weren't here, but I read a text message that I got from my daughter, who's a zoologist. Yeah. And she gave me some real good info on why it's not necessarily a good idea to release them into the wild. But similar to what Crystal there was talking about with Keiko and what we could do with the belugas and what my daughter's suggestion is we need to build an ocean sanctuary for marine life that is not ready to go out into the wild. Somewhere that is protected from predators, where we can slowly reintroduce them to hunting for food, i.e. catching their own fish instead of a trainer throwing it to them when they can bounce a beach ball on their nose. You know, that sort of thing. Yeah. A simple area in the ocean that's big, so they've got some room to swim, but they're protected either by an underground fence or something. I have to think that in 2025, we've got the technology and the desire to do it. When you think about all the different ways our government wastes our money, and we get new examples every single day of how they're wasting our money, I am totally fine with my tax dollars being used to create a sanctuary in the ocean. And it shouldn't cost a lot. I mean, the way these people in Ottawa run right now, they'll probably say this is like a multi-billion-dollar project. And it doesn't need to be. We're talking fencing in the ocean. That's all you got to do. Yeah. And you got to staff it. I'd be willing to bet they would collect millions in private donations. They could probably get corporate sponsorships.
Absolutely.
And this could be done very, very quickly. It would solve a problem for the belugas and all of the other marine life that's out there being held in captivity or that's become injured and we've rescued them and can't set them back out into the wild. Put them in this area. It's also an amazing scientific opportunity to study whether or not an animal that was in captivity can be released back into the wild. It checks so many boxes. We should absolutely do this. Mark Carney, you will have my support if you do. Actually, two things. I want two things for you for my support. Mark, I will support you on this particular endeavor if you fund it, and also if we strengthen the laws against animal cruelty.
Yes.
I'm one of those people who believes that a crime against an animal should be treated no differently than a crime against a person. If you assault an animal, you should be charged with assault, as if you'd assaulted a person. If you kill an animal, and I mean in cold blood, same conditions as first, second, and third degree murder, then you should be charged for that appropriately. It's murder. And I think that this is something that we need to do because it's not just our earth. It doesn't just belong to people. And we're animals too. if you stop and think about it. So I don't think that our laws are strong enough. And I'd really like to see more protections for the animals, starting with the belugas and the ostriches.
Yes, the ostriches, which we'll touch on that here.
Oh, is there a question about them?
Oh, yeah, it's coming up. Dan writes, hey, brother, don't mean to bother you with this, but with all this that's been happening with the ostriches and the whales, where the F is PETA? I've heard nada, not a damn thing from them.
Where is PETA? Where are the people for the ethical treatment of animals?
They're in Paris throwing blood on fur.
I don't dislike PETA. I don't like their tactics per se, but I certainly like that they stand up for animals. But I mean, I'm standing up for animals right here. I do it almost every day in this podcast. Where the hell are the people for the ethical treatment of animals? Let me throw out a suggestion. And it's just a gut feeling I've got, everybody. PETA does not want to get involved with this, because PETA is funded by some left-wing organizations, and it would be a big embarrassment to our left-wing government if PETA got involved. So they've probably been asked to stand down, and they seem to have no problem doing that.
Oh, it's terrible.
That's one theory that's out there about PETA. I don't think we can say they don't know. They must know.
Everybody's talking about it. You'd have to be living under a rock at this point if you don't know.
Unless maybe PETA should just come out and say it. If the people for the ethical treatment of animals think it is more ethical to euthanize these whales, I'd like to hear them say it. And if they won't say it, then I think that just makes PETA more irrelevant. I've done more to protect those whales and those ostriches than PETA's done so far. Put it that way.
Well, and Joanne says there is a beluga whale sanctuary in Iceland. I don't understand why that is not an option. I swear these people, I don't want to be mean, but they seem to be as dumb as a bag of rocks.
Doesn't it seem that way, though, with government sometimes?
Yes.
It just seems like they're not smart people. I mean, smart enough to get elected, smart enough to hoodwink enough people into voting for them, but really not smart enough to run a country and deal with the issues that come up, including an issue like this. I wasn't aware that there's a beluga sanctuary in Iceland, but
I didn't know either.
It's not even that far. We could get the whales there in a couple of days. Why wouldn't we do that? The only thing I can think of is that sanctuary either is not accepting new belugas, or there's concerns about the belugas from Marineland because a number of them have died in captivity. And I'm sure that they would want some pretty thorough testing done to make sure they're not sick in some way.
Well, get her done, people.
Whatever it is, I don't care what the solution is. I don't care if it costs a few of our tax dollars. I just want those animals to be given the best fighting chance at life.
Absolutely. And Cheryl says, please basically continue to follow the Marineland and ostrich stories for us listeners. The whole situation makes me sick, and I'm an avid animal lover.
Yeah, I am too. I will absolutely stay on this. Before you go on to the next question, I forgot to tell you what I did last night.
What did you do?
I went to a really, really cool evening. It was an invite-only thing where there was a bunch of conservatives all invited to go and sit in a room at a house. And I'm not even going to say where it is or who it belongs to, but we were all invited to go to a house and talk about issues and talk about conservative values and how conservatives can do better in presenting themselves to the electorate. And I was asked to give a short speech, which I did. And I hope that they enjoyed that. I was talking about the need to be nice. I was talking about the need to not be so in your face about being conservative. You know, for the longest time, people were shamed into not admitting they were conservative. People, even if they were, and even if they had those conservative values, would never really say it because it was meant to be unpopular, especially in the workplace. In those woke workplaces, you didn't dare say, I support Donald Trump. I support Pierre Poilievre. I am a conservative. You just didn't do that. Now it's becoming more and more acceptable to let people know, no, I'm a common sense person. I'm a conservative. But I feel like people are getting too aggressive about it, especially some of the voices online, some of the talking heads. Some of them are real aggressive about it, and I don't like that approach. I think that common sense is common sense. And when you explain to people an issue so that they truly understand the issue, common sense is always going to prevail. You know, you don't have to push somebody in one direction. Yeah. You simply show them your philosophy, your way of thinking, and if they're going to follow it, they're going to follow it. But I don't think we should be so aggressive. That was the crux of the speech I gave last night. There were some other great speakers there, though, and I got to tell you, the amount of people that are starting to wake up now and realize that this is a completely different Canada than it even was at this time last year. If you think about what was going on at this time last year, there was disdain for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
Oh, yeah.
People hated the man. They were begging for an election. And then in the spring, everything changed when Mark Carney came in. And we talked about that a little bit, too. It was a real good evening, and I invited a number of people that were there to check out the podcast, and I hope that they're checking out this episode now. It was really great to speak to you. I enjoyed all of your perspectives, and I think it's important that we talk about politics a little bit more. And not just politics per se, the issues that the leaders want us to talk about. I mean, all aspects of how politics influence our lives, including the Marineland situation, including the ostrich situation. These are things that I'd like to hear from our leaders on, and I'm still very, very disappointed in the way Pierre Poilievre fluffed off that question the other day about the ostriches. Now, he has since given a much more fulsome answer. I appreciated that, but I didn't like that he blew it off in the first place. So, listen, it was a good night last night to the people that were there. It was very nice to see all of you. Anna, you know who was there because I told you, but I'm not going to say it in the podcast because I don't know if those people would want other people to know that they were in a room full of conservatives talking about conservative values. But I did get an invite last night, and I was very happy to speak to the crowd.
Oh, well, from the sounds of it, it went really well, and we'll see what happens.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so this one is from Jay. Hey, Scott. Welcome back, Anna. Thank you. I'm just wondering if you have any updates about what is happening with the Epstein files. Also, not impressed that those birds still might die. I think we should study them as well, or if not, then maybe just let them live out their natural life. What's the harm in that?
Okay, so I'll start off going in reverse.
Yes.
By birds, I assume he means the ostriches.
Yes.
So here's the situation with the birds. There was an avian bird flu outbreak at the facility, and some birds died. The birds that are still alive either never got it in the first place, or they got it and recovered from it. Now, because they were infected, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, which is the government, wants them killed. They don't want that because they want to minimize any possibility of avian bird flu getting out there. Now, those on the other side would make the case that, listen, these birds survived it. If they recovered from it, that means they were never sick in the first place, or they've developed antibodies. And those antibodies are essential. Think back to COVID. Remember, we talked about antibody treatments, and if you had the antibodies, that means that your body was naturally fighting it. If there's antibodies in those birds, the theory is that we should study those antibodies, and maybe we can even develop a bird vaccine or a cure or something like that. Maybe stop it from mutating in the future. So there's two schools of thought on it. Many people feel that these ostriches should be allowed to live. They survived the avian flu outbreak. They're still here. And these are ancient animals, by the way. Ostriches have been around for thousands of years. I'm on team study them and at least let them live until they present some sort of a danger. But I also think, though, that we shouldn't completely disregard the CFIA. They've got a job to do. And if their job is to make sure that the bird flu doesn't spread, and there's some animals in Canada that had it, I understand why they want to kill them. I don't think they're thinking the right way, but I understand how they're thinking. Even though I disagree with them, I think that there's a compromise here. Maybe they can stay alive. Maybe we will eventually study them when they die of natural causes or what have you, but maybe they stay in complete isolation so that there's no chance that they could come into contact with other birds or with people or anything like that. The worst thing that could happen is for that bird flu to mutate into something that gets into humans. That we don't want. And it starts by keeping those ostriches isolated from all bird life or animal life. If we can keep them completely isolated but let them live, that's the compromise here. But it seems like neither side wants to compromise at this point.
Yeah.
And that's frustrating because I think compromise is the only way we're going to move forward in a common direction for Canada.
Okay. Well, we have...
Oh, there was another part of that question.
The Epstein files. Yes.
Damned if I know, man. His name was...
Jay.
Jay. It's getting annoying. We were told by Donald Trump, vote for me and I will release all of America's secrets that you want known. And there are a lot of secrets. I want to know who killed JFK.
Me too.
I want to know who killed MLK. I want to know if it was a government conspiracy. I want to know if aliens have been to the earth. I want to know if we're in contact with them. I want to know what happened with Epstein on that island and who he was working for. Was he just an independently wealthy billionaire who liked weird sex? No, he wasn't. He was clearly working for somebody. Then when Donald Trump got into power, something happened And now all of a sudden he thinks you're stupid if you want to know. I don't accept that, Donald Trump. I don't accept that. We need to know what happened, and the people who took advantage of underage people and exploited them need to be punished for their crimes. And if that means a sitting or former president happens to go to jail for a while, I'm okay with that. I am. And if some of the world elite billionaires are going to have to go to jail over this, then that's where they belong. But we need to know what happened. And I hate that they are still obstructing this. Now, one little piece of grace that I will give here is I know not a lot of people like him right now because he hasn't released all the files, apparently. Kash Patel is the director of the FBI. Mm-hmm. Kash says, and I actually believe him when he says this, that when he got in there, most of the evidence that they thought they were going to find wasn't there. It's very likely and probable that during the last administration and possibly 2 administrations before them, yes, I'm talking about the Obama administration and the Biden administration, because I really don't think that Trump participated in a cover-up in his first term. He was too new and he had no idea how anything worked. So I think that between those 2 administrations, a lot of evidence probably got destroyed or hidden somewhere or what have you. It doesn't mean, though, that we can't talk to the live witnesses. There are witnesses out there. There are people out there that were exploited that have been to that island. I think it's time to do whatever we have to do to make people talk. And I know not everybody's going to agree with me on this. I'm open to cutting a deal with Ghislaine Maxwell. She is scum and deserves to be punished for trafficking those girls and making all those arrangements for Epstein. But if it gives the people confidence that they know the truth, I'm okay with cutting a deal with Ghislaine Maxwell to find out the truth. The thing is, how do we believe the truth? You know, I went into this thinking Trump is going to be the savior who is going to declassify these files and we'll finally know. Well, the fact that he's now saying you're stupid if you want to know and this is a hoax makes me think he's in them.
Oh, yeah.
And then that makes me think he's covering it up. So if Ghislaine Maxwell came out today and said, thank you for pardoning me, I agreed to tell you the whole truth, here we go, Donald Trump never went to the island and he never did anything. I don't know if I'm going to believe her. Not after all this.
I wouldn't.
Trump did this to himself. If he's truly innocent, he should have stayed on the path he was on. The fact that he deviated from that path makes me think Trump is in those files. But did he actually do anything? Or did they set it up so that when Trump did get to this point, go ahead and release it, but you're in it too?
Yeah.
Who knows? Like now it is so convoluted and twisted that I don't know if we'll ever know the truth. But either way, I want to see somebody go to jail, somebody high profile. There's certain people that are not in dispute. We know what they did. Prince Andrew, one of them. Bill Clinton, highly likely. I don't have the proof, but, you know, apparently the FBI has got some. Go after those 2 first. Show the American people that there are consequences for the crime and put them in jail forever. Can you imagine Bill Gates and Bill Clinton going to jail? Oh, sorry, I didn't even say Bill Gates. I said Prince Andrew.
Yeah,
but Bill Gates is another one where I'd kind of like to know what went on there.
It's just, yeah, you know, but I just feel like people got to Trump. I don't like Trump at all, but I feel like these high profile people, they were talked to and that's why their story changed. But I'm also into the conspiracy theories. So we'll see what happens. But I hope we get some frickin' answers.
I don't think that should be considered a conspiracy theory. I think we should totally normalize having this conversation because we know it happened. We don't know who did it, but we know what happened.
Yeah.
And the witnesses, they know exactly what happened. And I'm not quite sure why they're not coming forward unless they just don't feel safe.
Well, that's it.
And I don't blame them for not feeling safe because Epstein himself died over this.
Yes.
If he's dead, did he work for America? Was he a CIA asset or did he work for the Israeli government? And was he collecting information to blackmail American politicians? That's one of the leading theories out there. I don't know what's true and what's not. But either way, I would like to know the truth. I just don't know if that's possible at this point.
Okay.
But either way, every day that goes by where Donald Trump doesn't release these files, he looks more guilty.
You're right. And speaking of high profile people, Sebastian writes, hey, Scott, would love to hear your thoughts on Elon Musk and his cancel Netflix thing. He's boycotting it because of the Hamas steals kids show on Netflix promoting transgenderism and keeping and him making anti-Charlie Kirk comments after he passed. So, yeah, interesting.
Okay, so I don't know a whole lot about this controversial thing that's on Netflix that Elon Musk has a problem with, although I will fully admit that we've got to stop trying to sexualize children, first and foremost. If there's something on Netflix there, I don't want to ever go into a cancel culture scenario. I don't like cancel culture. I didn't like it when the left tried to do it to the right, and I don't like it when the right's trying to do it to the left. It still goes on, though. I mean, it was only a couple months ago they were trying to cancel Wayne Gretzky, for God's sake, because he was friends with Donald Trump. You know, I know that cancel culture is still alive and well. Is this cancel culture? In a way, it is. I mean, all Elon's saying is just cancel your Netflix subscription. There's other subscription services. There's other means of getting entertainment. If Netflix is going to pay for this show, which apparently promotes transgender ideology to kids, is that what it is?
That's what he's saying. Yeah, that's what he feels like, and why people should boycott the Netflix, because they're carrying that program.
I think parents should parent their kids. And if you don't want your kid to watch that, you should use the very simple technology that's available to all parents to restrict certain things. And that's just all there is to it. People canceling Netflix over it. There's a lot of reasons that I think you should cancel Netflix. I think most of their shows are terrible. You know, people rave to me all the time. Oh, you got to watch this. You got to watch that. I haven't seen a show on a streaming service that was as compelling to me as shows that we were watching back in the 90s and the 2000s. Nothing on Netflix is good to me. What you people think is good television now, I don't understand where you're coming from, because I don't think it's very good. I haven't seen one. Give me a modern day Sopranos. Give me a modern day Dexter. Give me a modern day Sons of Anarchy. You give me good television on those streaming services and I will subscribe. So given that it's not that great, it's just better than cable. If you don't like it, cancel it. But I'm not encouraging anyone to cancel anything. I'm encouraging parents to know what your kids are up to. And if you think they're watching this show, or you think that they might be influenced, or you don't want them influenced, whatever it is, you're their parent. Set up those parental controls and locks, have conversations with your kids, and you should be the first line of defense. Canceling something so that others can't see it, that's an ideology that I do not agree with. Nobody should be canceled for their views. And as much as I think it is disgusting, the people who celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk, again, I don't think that's a reason to cancel them. Okay. I don't.
Yeah, and that's what his other question, what were your thoughts about him making anti-Charlie Kirk comments?
I think people that do that are misinformed, and it's a sickness in a way to be that happy that someone was killed, especially when you're happy because you didn't like their opinion. That is wrong. But I'm not calling for anyone to be canceled for anything. Sorry, I'm not. If he made some bad comments and he happens to have a show on Netflix, I don't know why Netflix hasn't fired him. You know, that's a question for them. If you want to cancel Netflix, by all means, go ahead. Save yourself $20+ a month. It's crazy how much they're charging now compared to how much they used to charge. And the quality didn't get any better. Cancel it if you want. But if you don't cancel it, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I'm really not sure why Elon Musk cares.
Well, something for him to, yeah, he has a child who's transgender, but I don't think he claims that child. So who knows? I don't know. That's just what I've read. Anyhow, we're going to go on to Daniel. Scott, loving the pod. Thanks for your advocacy on removing speed cameras.
Thank you.
You've helped make it mainstream and maybe even push for Ford to act.
Hey, did Doug Ford feel some pressure from listening to my podcast? I don't think that that's what it was. I think if Doug did listen to my commentary on it, he probably just acknowledged that it's common sense to get rid of these cameras. Just yesterday, a few mayors, not all of them, but a number of mayors, wrote another letter to the premier. Now they want to compromise. That's something that I talked about in a couple of interviews that I dropped earlier this week. Rob Serjanik, member of provincial parliament for Ajax, and Cam Guthrie, mayor of Guelph. I had a great conversation with both of them and a couple of takeaways. Number one, Rob, who sits across from Doug Ford at Queen's Park, he's a liberal. He agreed that maybe there could be some compromise. Cam Guthrie, a mayor who at one point was in favor of these cameras, he agreed. The mayors didn't necessarily get it right. The compromise we probably could have reached was, we're going to take those cameras out anywhere where they're not in a specific school or community safety zone. They're only going to be ticketing people during hours when it's relevant. It doesn't really matter if you're speeding outside of school at 5 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning. It's when kids are going to school and at school and leaving school that's the most important. If we could have agreed that there's a common threshold so that every municipality Nobody's getting a ticket for doing less than 10 kilometers over the limit. Right now, it's a real patchwork. You could be doing 4 over the limit in Burlington and get a ticket. You could be doing 8 over the limit in Brampton and not get a ticket. It's confusing, and everybody understands. We've all known since we started driving. It's the unwritten rule. The cop is not going to pull you over if you're doing less than 10 kilometers an hour over the limit. So why are these machines giving out tickets for that? And then, oh man, I'm getting hot again.
I love it.
Well, I'm just going to say, listen, the mayors that now want to compromise, including my mayor, Marianne there in Burlington, who's wildly misinformed on this topic, or she's intentionally deceiving the public. And I'll debate Marianne anytime she wants. Marianne, you've made me very interested in your job, just so you know. Maybe you should come on my podcast and debate me so the taxpayers in Burlington can hear why you support these cameras. Why don't you come on, Marianne, and have the guts that Cam Guthrie had? Because I had a great and respectful debate with him, and I will do it with any mayor that wants to come on. You guys wanting to compromise now? Well, that's a little rich, because for a very long time, you guys didn't want to discuss anything. You didn't want to compromise. You put the cameras in. It was very arbitrary. You said, this is the way it's going to be, and if you don't like it, tough beans, don't speed. And then you gaslit people about seniors and children dying without these cameras. And of course, it was nonsense. All of it was nonsense. These cameras, there was a point where we could have compromised on this. And I think everybody would have gotten behind a common set of rules that's uniform across the province. If you see one of these cameras, you know if you're doing less than 10 over or 8 over or whatever, you're not going to get a ticket. Make them effective in specific areas under specific circumstances. We could have compromised. It's the mayors that didn't want to compromise. Those city councilors that refused to listen and gaslit you if you dared to complain about them. Well, now the golden goose is being taken away by Doug Ford, and these mayors are crying themselves to sleep. Patrick Brown's another one. I am really disappointed in Patrick Brown. Holy cow. And I really like Pat as a person and as a politician. To hear him going on and on about how much we need these cameras and how many lives they're saving. Pat, the chair that Anna's sitting in, it's open for you too. You come in here and debate me. That'd be a good informed debate. However, listen, these mayors, they had a chance to compromise and they didn't want to. It wasn't until their hand was forced that they said, well, maybe we could work with the taxpayers. Screw you. Rip these cameras out. And if you don't like that cameras got taken out, you can blame your mayor. If you don't like that these cameras were put in, you can also blame your mayor. And please remember, if you have speed enforcement cameras in your area, if you've got a mayor that's out of touch and trying to cling on to these cameras and the money they make, next fall, we fire them all.
It rhymes. And Daniel said, too, hey, respect to the mayor of Guelph and the Liberal MPP for coming on your show. He, too, agrees with you, finds it amusing that politicians now want to compromise.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Now they want to compromise because Ford threatened to take them away.
Yeah, he feels that they got greedy and it's too late for compromise.
It is too late for compromise. We had a chance to compromise. It's the mayors that didn't want to compromise. These people are reckless politicians who are bad at math. They didn't want to listen to their own people. And how wrong is that in a country that prides itself on being a democracy? We've got elected individuals that as soon as they get into office, they gaslight you, they ignore you, and they shame you if you disagree with their policy. I am so excited about the probability of debating Marianne Mead Ward from Burlington. I might run for her job just so she has to debate me.
Oh, you heard it here first. Oh, okay. We'll see what happens there. Josh, speaking of cameras.
Is that the only way, by the way, that we can get any conversation with our mayor is we have to run against them?
I mean,
how sad is that? You know, I'm pleasantly surprised that my old friend Barry Verbanovic in Kitchener has come out as someone who wants the cameras gone. I'm very happy that someone who I used to not like as a politician, Stephen Del Duca, but now as the mayor of Vaughan, very common sense, down the middle, listens to his constituents. He's one who put those cameras in and then realized people really don't like these and they feel they're unfair. There's mayors who have listened to their people and said, yeah, you know what? Let's get rid of them. We like them. We think they're safe, but the people don't like them, so they got to go. That's what we need in elected individuals, not this nonsense and pandering and gaslighting people into thinking that senior citizens are getting hit by cars left, right, and center, because it's just not happening. Like, that is not a thing.
And it's just a blanket statement that they reply to your email with, because nobody takes your calls anymore either.
Yeah, and they just send you a stock response that their staff wrote. Like, sometimes they don't even change the name.
No.
Just dear taxpayer.
It's true.
Get out of here.
It's so true.
You could have at least customized it to my name.
Yeah, like it's so, it just blows my mind. Josh, just finished your podcast on speed cameras. I don't speed, so no tickets, but I still think the cameras are ridiculous. If they must exist, to your point that you mentioned, Scott, they should only be in school zones with funds going to school food programs. The Guelph mayor didn't convince me they're needed. Also, if research is cited in the discussion, the numbers should be provided. As always, great podcast, Scott.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I like that school zone funds the programs.
Well, that'll tell us everything we need to know. If the mayors are truly that concerned about public safety, and it's really not about the money, why don't these mayors commit to not keeping any of the money? How about every penny that those cameras generate goes to school nutrition programs, or it goes to whatever? I don't want to give it to the police. They get enough, and our property taxes are going to go up again in the spring because of the police budgeting. So no, it doesn't need to go to that. Let's give it to schools. Let's put it into the education system. I don't even care if they put it into healthcare. Use it to fund food banks. Use it to fund animal shelters. Use it for those sort of things. But if you mayors want to commit to, if you swear it's not about the money, then put your money where your mouth is and commit to not keeping any of it. There we go.
Yeah, here's a great opportunity. Next up, we have Michael. Hey, Scott, I partly agree with you on Truth and Reconciliation Day. It is important to remember the past, but I think it's getting too much attention. I'd hate for it to become another Pride Month type spectacle. Personally, I feel Remembrance Day deserves more quiet observance. I see more orange shirts than poppies. Reflecting on unproven graves doesn't compare to honoring the thousands who died for our freedom, though I know it's not a perfect comparison.
Thank you for saying that.
Just some thoughts from a young guy in Alberta. Love the pod. Thanks for making politics easy to understand and covering what mainstream media won't.
It's funny because when I first launched this pod, my Ontario numbers were huge, and then it was kind of a slow grow across Canada. But I have got a hell of a lot of listeners in Alberta, and that number is growing every day. So thank you very much for listening in Alberta. I'm not sure where you are, but I appreciate you. When it comes to Truth and Reconciliation Day, I understand why some people want to compare it to Remembrance Day. I get it. It's a federal holiday, but it's not a holiday. We're remembering. It's a day of solemn remembrance. Understood. It's not apples to apples, and I'm glad that he acknowledged, no, it's not a fair comparison. I think no matter what, personally, we need to do more, and we need to do better at honoring our war dead, those who made the ultimate sacrifice, and their families who also made a sacrifice when we lost those members of the armed forces. Full stop. When it comes to Truth and Reconciliation Day, like I said earlier this week, I know that they didn't find any bodies. And that's not to say that they won't, but I also don't want them to either. I mean, if there's bodies there, sure, I would like them to be found, but I'm not willing this on. Come on, bring on the bodies so that we can make this holiday mean something. That's not what I'm doing. Either way, bodies or no bodies, I think we can all agree that we have a disgraceful history with residential schools in this country. And you know what? This isn't one of those things that we can fluff off on, I wasn't even alive. It was our grandparents and stuff like that. I mean, going back to, did we still have residential schools when Jean Chrétien was prime minister, or was it
90s.
Before him? Okay, so Chrétien was PM in the 90s.
It was in the 90s as well. That's when they started to officially close the last few.
That's how recently we had residential schools. And kids were taken away from their families, whether dishonestly or viciously. It's a horrible history that I don't think we should forget by any means. I think we need to remember it's part of our history, and we need to acknowledge that there are a lot of families that suffered because of the residential school system. I don't think it's a big deal to ask people once a year to stop, pause, reflect, and vow to never let it happen again. There are a lot of holidays like that throughout the year. And Remembrance Day, of course, being one of them. But I don't put them in the same category. The residential school thing, I'm glad to see people wearing orange shirts. Yeah. If for one day only we turn our attention on our Indigenous First Nations, I don't know what's so wrong with that. But I love healthy debate, and I certainly love the perspective. So thank you very much to you for listening in Alberta. I will continue to observe Truth and Reconciliation Day. I think it's an important part of our identity here in Canada. Not something we should be proud of in our history, but we don't look the other way on things we're not proud of.
No, it happened, and we must talk about it. Okay, so we have this one from Karen. Hey, Scott, I drive a city bus daily, and lately I've noticed a lot of temporary foreign workers that are pregnant or have had babies lately. Do you think this will make them qualify to stay in Canada? I mean, a lot of them are pregnant.
Okay, that's an interesting one. I haven't noticed that, and I don't know how you would know from looking at somebody that they're a temporary foreign worker.
I don't know either.
I mean, maybe we can admit that they're certainly immigrants, but I don't know that they're a temporary foreign worker. What would you do? You've got an opportunity to move to Utopia. There's some country out there that wants you to move there so badly. They're going to put you up in a hotel. They're going to give you money every single day. They're going to give you free health care. They're going to give you a driver's license. They're going to recognize your skills training from your job that you have in your current country. There's no downside to coming to Canada if you don't like the country you live in. No downside at all. We really incentivize it. If you're coming anyway, you might as well have a kid. If you were going to do it anyway, use our world-class healthcare system, and then your kid makes you eligible for even more money from the government. And yeah, it's possible that could be a path to citizenship because the kid would be Canadian if they're born in Canada. And we don't, if they're a Canadian citizen, they don't get removed, right? It would be, and we're not going to remove the parents without the kid. So it's a brilliant move by them. I don't blame them one bit. I blame our government that enables this nonsense. And frankly, it shouldn't be allowed unless you pay taxes here and you have for a reasonable amount of time. You should not get to access our social safety net. And I don't want to turn people away. If you show up at the ER and you're bleeding, yeah, we should absolutely treat you, whether you have OHIP coverage or not. But you get a bill for that and you're going to pay it. And if you don't pay it, you get kicked out of the country. And that's all there is to it. We can't keep giving away freebies to people who have not contributed to the system for the simple reason. It's not that we're not compassionate. It's not that we don't care. We can't afford it. I would love to help out with more charities, but I don't have the money in my household. And we as a country don't have the money to keep doing this. Also, how much more do Canadians need to sacrifice to accommodate people who aren't supposed to be here? How many hours is acceptable to wait in an ER behind people who aren't supposed to be here? How many hours do you want to wait? Because I'm not prepared to wait any longer. I don't want to be told again, I got to go to Meaford at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday to get an MRI. I don't want to be told that anymore. I want a good world-class healthcare system that's reflective of the fact that we pay 50% in taxes in this country. That's why our taxes are so high. No, there's no more freebies. If you're not supposed to be here, if you don't pay taxes here and you haven't for at least, say, a couple of years, then you don't get to access the social safety net. That's all there is to it. You're not eligible for welfare. We're not going to put you up in a hotel. We're not going to give you free health care. We're not going to do any of these things because you're not supposed to be here. And if you are coming here, just like any other place that you travel, you should buy health insurance. If you're pregnant and coming to Canada as a temporary foreign worker or whatever, then come here with health insurance. That's all there is to it. I don't go to the States and just expect them to take care of me if I break my foot.
Oh, gosh, you're going to have a nice hefty bill.
You will get a hefty bill, but that's the way it's supposed to be because I don't pay taxes in America. I have no right to health care in America. Yep. That's for the people who pay for it. And that's how I feel about it. I'm open to other perspectives. I'm not quite sure, again, how you figured out that they're regular immigrants versus temporary foreign workers. I don't know. But either way, unless you pay taxes here and you have for a while, you don't get the social safety net. Anybody coming here that is not a Canadian citizen or permanent resident should have to show that they've got health care coverage through insurance right at the airport. And if they don't have it, get back on the plane and go.
As somebody who is an immigrant, and I have a lot of immigrant family and friends because this is how we came to Canada, the story for us is we are frustrated because then the newcomers who are doing things illegally, they make us look bad and we get frustrated because we did it right. And it's just then we get clumped into one big whole sum.
I don't know if it was a Bascus or one of the polling companies did a pretty comprehensive dive into immigration. And they asked legal immigrants what they thought of the current crop of immigrants that are coming to Canada. And that was the number one demographic that was unhappy with Canada's immigration system is people that are immigrants themselves because they followed the rules. They did it the right way. And it's embarrassing that we make some people, good people who are contributing to our country, we make them jump through hoops. But then these low skilled, basically unemployable people, they come here, they claim asylum. We put them up in hotels and stuff like that and just treat them like gold. For years in some cases. It's insane. The other day, Olivia Chow made this just taunting statement to Toronto taxpayers that if Mark Carney doesn't give Toronto $107 million to cover their bill for refugees, then Toronto taxes are going to go up again. And part of the problem I have with that is Olivia, in her speech there, said, we don't want these people. No, I won't try and do the accent. She said, we don't want these people to come here and clog up our shelter systems and stuff like that. So we have to house them and we have to do all this for them. Why are the immigrants getting the hotels when Canadians, who through no fault of their own, are in shelters?
Yeah.
Isn't that backwards? If you just came here on a bogus asylum claim, you stay in the shelters. If we're going to put people in hotels, I'd at least like it to be people that pay taxes here. And no, I don't think we should put anybody in hotels. Build as many shelters as you have to. We're not paying $100, $250 a night to put a refugee at the Sheraton downtown. I can't even afford to stay there.
I mean, when we came to Canada, we weren't staying at hotels. That wasn't even an option provided. We had to have proof that we had a job and a place to live.
That's how the system used to work. And I don't know why we strayed from that other than there's really no other way to look at it. Even if you're a partisan, fine. But if you're being objective, there's no other way to look at it other than the Americans under Joe Biden and us Canadians under Justin Trudeau went nuts trying to import as many voters as possible. It used to be a thing that, in fact, my in-laws are still like this. When they came here, it was under Pierre Elliott Trudeau.
Yeah.
They still feel beholden to Trudeau because he was the guy who let them come here.
But it was just different in the sense
that 45 years ago.
Yeah, and it was a different Canada still. And they came here with intentions to put roots down and create a life as my parents did. I'm not saying that these newcomers aren't like that. However, there are some where you're just like, this is very frustrating how much my parents had to sacrifice and work and you're getting a free ride.
Yeah, my whole family is immigrants too. And you know what? They had to do it the right way. They had to work and they had to get a sponsor to come here.
Yes.
They had to show that they had a job.
Yes.
They had to become quickly productive members of society. They had to pay their taxes. There were no freebies or handouts for the people who did it the right way. We only do it for people who do it the wrong way. And it's got to be a vote importing scheme. That's all I can think of.
Yeah. Well, Robin writes sort of about wages here. Hey, Scott, great interview this week. Love them, the interviews. With minimum wage rising from $17 to $17 rather and 20 cents to $17.60. I'm not sure it really helps. Workers get a small bump, but businesses raise prices, so nothing changes. Instead of the constant hikes, why not cut or eliminate taxes on minimum wage? Maybe the first 30 hours for students and part-timers. That way workers keep more without businesses raising costs. Curious if you think a tax-based approach would work better.
Well, that's brilliant. No, it is. Who said that?
Robin.
That's smart. I mean, that's the kind of creative thinking that we need. Yeah, raising minimum wage. I'm sure it feels good if you're a minimum wage worker that you got a raise that you didn't do anything to earn necessarily. It's just, well, the government says I got to get paid more, so I get paid more. Good for you. I don't think minimum wage should be considered or looked at as a living wage. Minimum wage is for specific jobs that are entry level or that there's just a lot of people willing to do them. The fact that we keep hiking minimum wage to try and make it a living wage is not realistic anyway. And all it does is raise prices for the rest of us. You know, I use this example all the time. It wasn't that long ago that a Big Mac combo was $5.99. Now it's $16.99. And while inflation and such is certainly a factor, so are wages. Minimum wage has gone up a lot, as have taxes. I think that your approach, where rather than raise minimum wage, they could probably leave minimum wage at $12 an hour and stop taxing people on it. Wouldn't that be a better way?
It would be lovely.
They would take home more of their paycheck. But the same applies for everybody. The government has the ability to give some relief to the middle class. They could lower taxes. That would put more money in people's pockets so they're not going to lose their home, so they have more disposable income to go out and spend and support other businesses. There's no better stimulus than a tax cut. And we've got these jokers there in Ottawa that are taking a victory lap and a half because they cut the bottom bracket by 1%. Is anybody feeling like they're in a better spot because of Mark Carney's tax cut? I don't know anybody who's doing better because of it. Sure, it's nice to have a little bit more of your money, but it's really only a little bit. We need substantial tax relief in this country. The problem is the people in charge are drunk on spending. They need that money to keep coming in so that they can keep funding their silly projects. And nothing's going to happen until we cut taxes. That's all there is to it. That's the way I see it anyway. Yeah, instead of raising minimum wage, cutting the taxes that people pay on that minimum wage makes far more sense. But I would also point out we have a threshold that you don't have to pay taxes at. And some people aren't paying taxes anyway, really, at their minimum wage position, especially younger people. So it's not a foolproof system, Robin, but it's certainly something worth looking into. That's a great idea. That's a creative solution that our government will hate, but regular common sense people can think, yeah, instead of raising the minimum wage and then the cost of everything going up because of it, cut taxes for people who make minimum wage. Brilliant suggestion. It needs some refining, but good suggestion.
Well, Rob now says, hey, Scott and Anna, people forget that minimum wage isn't meant to be a living wage, but
he's right.
A starting point to build skills. Still, hikes don't just raise costs. They also affect workers higher up. For example, someone who earned a dollar raise now sees the gap shrink to 50 cents when minimum wage raises. In fairness, employers should adjust those wages too to reflect experience and loyalty.
Okay, so basically I think what Rob is trying to say here is if the minimum wage folk got a raise up to $17.60, but you already had some people making 18 or 19 bucks an hour, well, now the gap has narrowed. So those people that were making 18 or 19 should get an appropriate raise too to maintain the gap between what the entry level people are making and what they're making.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you. It's just I don't know. Well, I think I do know. The people in Ottawa are not business people. They've never run a business. They've never had to make a payroll in any sort of a serious way. It is a real, tangible cost for businesses when they do the payroll. Some people think, whatever, it's another 40 cents an hour. Who cares? That adds up. If you've got a lot of employees, 40, 60 cents an hour, every employee turns into a tangible amount of money. In some cases, there's business owners that are going to food banks because they can't afford to eat. You know, they're employing people and they're doing what we need them to do, but there's nothing left over for them. We got to really rethink everything we're doing here, Anna. You know, I mean, that's an interesting point. Yeah. Once the minimum wage folks get a raise, other people should get a raise too. It's hard to disagree with that, especially if you're not making minimum wage. Good point.
So this next one, Scott, it's a little heavy, and it's from Megan. So, Scott, I lost my dad last week in a sudden, weird way. I'm going to be 39 this month, and I lost my mom when I was 14. This was different. I'm scared. I'm just not ready to be parentless. When you leave this earth, how do you hope your kids will feel? I hope you can say ready. I'm sure I don't feel ready for this. Can you give me some Scott Fox perspective? Help me through this in a logical, rational Scott Fox way. That's from Megan. I feel, my heart aches for you, Megan. I'm so sorry for your loss.
I am too.
I'm so sorry.
You know, I am real sorry. Something she said in there, though, there was like a punch in the gut. How do you prepare your kids or whatever for when you die? How do you know that they're ready?
Yeah.
Jesus, I don't know how you answer that, but it's something that I think every parent thinks about. I really think they do. I'm blessed in that I still have both of my parents here. And Anna, you still have both of your parents here too.
She's living, I got to be honest, my nightmare, because that's one of my biggest fears in life, and it's inevitable.
Do you have any advice? Do you have anything that you would say to her here, struggling with the recent loss of a parent and now she has no parents alive?
Just trying to find who her circle is and lean on them. Your life will never be the same, and that's just the way that it is. But you're going to have to find a new normal and hopefully find some light in that new normal. And it won't happen right away. It's not going to happen for some time. And just let yourself grieve. And in whatever moment that might present itself, it's important to feel all your feels and know that regardless of what the future holds, that you will get through this. And it doesn't look like you will right now, but in time, it won't feel as bad as it feels today.
Well, that's the beautiful Scott Fox way that I think she was looking for from me. That was very well said, Anna.
Okay.
No, I mean, it was. The only other thing I'd add to that is don't be afraid to really surrender yourself and connect with your spiritual side.
Yeah.
Because as sad as it is for people here when someone passes on, I believe that there's something else on the horizon for them and for you, and you'll eventually get there too. And it's sad to say, but you will. Right now is not necessarily a sad time for them. And I'm sure they're going to miss you. I'm sure your parents are going to check in on you.
I believe in that. I do believe it doesn't end here. And that's my faith. And I think that's something positive to look into. Whatever your faith may be, just have some hope. Hope is great.
Hope is great. And faith is important. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Whatever your faith is, if you have faith in God or in a prophet or in a spirit, or you think something completely different, like when you die, you actually go to a different dimension that's parallel to this one. If you believe in reincarnation, I mean, you can take some comfort in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, that butterfly that flies by, maybe it's not just an innocent little butterfly. Yeah. Maybe that's your dad.
Yeah, I believe in all that, and I think that's what brings me comfort, honestly, at the end of the day, and find those comforting moments wherever you can, and it's okay too.
They're never really gone, I guess is my message. And they're as alive and here with you, not physically, but they're never actually gone if you don't let them go. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I don't want you to hang on to negative feelings. Just try and reverse your perspective, have a little faith, and look for those little signs.
And if you have any sort of regret or hanging on to anything, let it go. It's gone, and you only have now and going forward, and just let your heart heal. That's the only other thing I would say. Yeah. Okay. I hope that helped. Lori, we're gonna...
Oh, God, we have to keep going.
2 more. But
Quick.
these are good, okay? I just wanted to end on a higher note. Lori says, hey, Scott, how come radio contests always want you to text in now to win? You used to be able to call in and win. Why do you want people to phone number? Why don't you want people to phone numbers so badly? Okay, why do you want people's phone numbers? Oh, when you text in, why do you want their phone number so badly? That makes so much more sense.
Okay, so there's a couple schools of thought on that, and I'm not a radio programmer. I could, but nobody's asked me.
Yet.
Listen, when it comes to radio contests, one of the things that has been very apparent to me for a long time is there are a lot of people out there that will sit as like professional contest players, and they treat it like their job. And they've got hacks and they've got technology, and they're figuring out how to circumvent every other person that's trying to call in to win those tickets. They're not even doing it because they're a fan per se. They're doing it because they want to win the tickets and sell them for a profit. We call them prize pigs in radio. And I don't know how they do it, but some of them manage to get through. The difference with a text contest is we just see them on a board. It's not like we've got a cell phone in our hand and we're reading your text messages. It just comes up very much like an Outlook inbox. And when you text in, we can have it randomly select somebody that texted in, or we can take a specific number, like who was the first person to text? Who was the 8th person to text? Whatever it is. It makes the contest much more fair if everybody who wants to play texts in, and then we call back the person who is the right person. It also takes some of the prize pigs out of the equation. And some of them, I love them. But some of them aren't even really listeners. And that's all a radio station asks of you. Yeah. If you want to win Jonas Brothers tickets, we're giving them away on our show every morning on Light 92.1 FM across Southern Ontario. That's for a show coming up at TD Coliseum. I want a fan to win those tickets, or I want a parent to win those tickets and take their kid, or what have you. I don't want somebody who is phoning 11 different radio stations today to try and win tickets and is just going to turn around and put them all on Facebook Marketplace to make a lot of money and charge somebody else an extortionate amount for those same tickets that they got for free. So that's the way I see it. Radio people, the programmers, the promo people, they may have a different philosophy on it, but in my estimation, that's the number one reason that we text. Also, I like the text thing. I don't like to talk to anybody. I don't even take phone calls unless I know it's coming. So, I mean, I'm a text person. I think most people are. You're texting anyway. It's a simple way to at least give yourself a shot. And it costs you nothing to enter anyway. So next time you hear text in to win this, if it's something that you actually want to win and you want to use that prize, take a shot because you never know.
It's true. And finally, Andrea. Good morning, Scott. TGIF.
Thank God it's Friday.
Right? I just got X for news and was wondering if you could recommend some of your favorite news outlets to follow.
Okay, so she just joined X, eh?
Yeah, formerly known as Twitter.
I think that there is a lot of different accounts on X where you can get information that you are not getting from the mainstream media. Andrea, was it?
Yeah.
Andrea, if you're going to follow mainstream media, those are your television stations, your newspapers, and stuff like that. Balance it out with another source as well, because I try and paint this picture in as obvious a way as I can whenever I get the opportunity, that when you follow news from the mainstream media, you're not necessarily getting all of the facts. You're getting a spin or the opinion of the presenter or the angle that that company that owns that broadcast outlet or mainstream media outlet wants out there. You're not necessarily getting unbiased news and facts. So by all means, go ahead and follow the Globe and Mail and follow the Toronto Star and the Toronto Sun and Global, CBC, whatever you want. I don't really care. I personally don't have a whole lot of time for those companies. Six Buzz is a very, very simple way to not just get, they always share like the big news headlines, but they also give you a lot of local stuff as well. Ezra Levant. I know that Ezra doesn't necessarily have the best reputation because he is a threat to the mainstream media because he presents an alternative media via Rebel News. People have been taught, oh, don't listen to Rebel News. They're just a bunch of right-wing kooks. Why don't you follow Ezra? He's a common sense guy. I mean, there's nothing wrong with following him to get his take on the news, and he covers a lot of stuff that other people don't. Follow Benny Johnson out of America. Follow Elon Musk. He highlights a lot of stories that become news. Rapid Response 47 covers the president in a way that the mainstream media doesn't. Rapid Response 47. If you want conspiracy theories and to go down the rabbit hole, follow Illuminati Bot. Illuminati Bot. They post some real interesting stuff sometimes, but be careful because you're going down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
A couple of people that do similar things to me that I guess you would call them conservative influencers. Mario for the North is a great guy. I just talked to him the other day. Mario for the North is a good one. Jasmine Lane's another good one. Juno News is similar to Rebel News, but again, they cover stuff with a different angle than what you're going to see in the mainstream media. I'm not saying don't follow the mainstream media. I'm saying balance it out. For every article that you get spun into your inbox or into your feed from CP24, you want one from one of the sources that I just said. Oh, another one is, I like this guy a lot. He's out of the States as well. Colin Rugg. COLLINRUGG. Colin is very, very good at presenting news that you don't get from the mainstream media. Those are all some great accounts. Hopefully that was easy enough to follow.
And who are you on there?
Scott Fox on air. You know, I don't do a ton on social anymore. I used to, but I found it got very toxic. It's just a lot of fighting. So, you know, I'll share my opinion from time to time. I'll comment from time to time, but you don't need to come to me on social media for consistent, reliable news. I do that in the podcast, not necessarily on my socials.
That's great, though.
Are we done?
We are done.
Anna, I hope you have an amazing weekend.
Thank you. You too. It's going to be a great weather weekend, hanging on to summer as long as I can, even though it's fall.
Hopefully Diddy gets the justice he deserves, and I will talk about that on Monday. Okay. Hopefully we've got the Jays up 2-0 come Monday, and I'll be talking about that. Have an amazing weekend, everybody, and I'll catch you right back here on Monday. If you want to weigh in on anything from this episode, at Scott Fox on Air, slide into my DMs, and I will catch you right back here on Monday. I'll leave you with the sounds of Pat James and the whole truth. Hey now. Oh.